In the last few years, there's been much talk about big data and data-driven marketing as an important source to reach out to customers. Well, that's exactly what we addressed in Brandstand Conversations this week, where our consulting editor got top stakeholders to highlight some success stories and talk about the challenges ahead. Let's get straight to the discussion.
Welcome to the third edition of Brandstand Conversations. We have here with us at August panel, we have Rakshan Patel, who heads Pi Communications, Damodar Mal, who is a supermarket wala and with Reliance Retail, and Ajay Kelkar, who has had a great past in banking and finance and now is co-founder of Hansa Security. Let me start off with you, Rakshan. You've seen the entire business evolve over a period of time, and from the days of direct marketing to what is now data-driven marketing. And how do you think has it evolved?
Big data is like teenage sex. Everyone talks about it. Nobody knows how to do it. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it. And therefore everyone claims that they do it. But to be honest, there are people who have progressed from direct into data-driven marketing and do it exceedingly well, from just customer databases to offline databases to now online databases and behavioral databases, and uses that effectively. Some don't do it so well.
And I do agree with Rakshan that today I think big data, even the Chanawala must be speaking about big data, but I think the critical ingredient which has changed is the consumer. And the consumer is actually leaving such a digital exhaust of data behind that he or she is demanding relevance. And in that change from a consumer perspective of demanding relevance is getting marketers to seek out data to see how can I become more relevant. Obviously, there are a lot of industries which are awash with data. If you take banking, financial services, telecom, retail, they have enormous amounts of data. And as a way of life in those businesses, I think more and more data consumption has become a habit for taking decisions. In the newer age industries like e-commerce, you don't do without data. One of the theses that I have is that the younger the age of the manager, the easier and the more alive that person is to consuming data for taking decisions. So I think to my mind, the change is happening. The cultural fabric of marketing departments is moving from being completely right-brained to being much more left-brained.
Damodar, do you find that the way this entire technology-driven marketing tool has evolved, marketers are using it effectively enough?
The entire retail business, my service that I provide to the customer is actually self-service. The only way, I don't even speak to the customer quite often. The only way I read her, ethnicity, only way I know how many kids she has at home is based on the consumption data that I have. So that is the language, that is the vocabulary in which retailers and supermarket wallas like me think. So I don't see it as a luxury. I don't see it as a transition that we have to make from advertising to data-driven. I lead that life, and that's the only way I see the customer. Even if I'm doing what you call ATL marketing, the thinking of what I should be doing and what I should be communicating starts from data first. You talk about the balance between the two kinds of spends. I think the most interesting story in my life as a marketer is the D by DT, the shift that is taking place. And it's rapidly taking place from media that are broadcast from the air to far more sniper kind of media in the catchment, targeted ad behavior of the customer, increasingly becoming more intelligent and direct.
Ajay, do you think that there's a clear shift in terms of money is going in from ATL to data-driven?
In India today, probably $80 billion of technology spends happen across all industries. And out of that, maybe 5 to 7% of that is shifting towards marketing. So marketers are again beginning to invest in technology. The big challenge then is that would marketers have a chief marketing technology officer in the days going forward? But I think as long as you understand how to leverage it, with the millions of data points that marketers today have, there are data analytics tools, there are data mining tools available to look at the patterns, to look at market research on a scale of 1, on a segment of 1, and to be able to take action in real time. So how do you assess all of this technology and leverage that to take action on a regular basis? That is the conundrum that marketers need to solve.
Would you be able to give us an estimate of the kind of spends that have shifted?
I think percentage-wise, you could say that, these service industries, retail, telecom, financial services are spending, I think, more money in customer-facing activities and engagement communication than above the line.
In the banking business, if you look at it, with that amount of data which is there in the nerve, cell of the bank, you can actually transform marketing from a push-based, mass kind of marketing to a pull-based kind of a situation where marketing almost becomes a service. So that's the ultimate point at which marketing could go, where marketing knows its customer so well, has so much data about the customer, that it reaches out to the customer when the customer wants his or her needs to be met.
Damodar, from your point of view, are you happy with the kind of, with the kind of work that is being done in this area?
In this field, if you're not unhappy with what you are doing and what your business partners are doing on a weekly basis, I think you're getting it wrong. Because what I thought was a brilliant idea 6 months back becomes obsolete now when the new methods coming in, new ways to mining insights that come in. Another role that I want to mention is I use data, loyalty, driven marketing for my own needs. At the same time, I'm the evangelist who provides a platform for brands to learn to do that. And the amount of money that brands are spending, learning to spend, they're wanting us to hold their hand and working closely with us, is growing in multiples year over year.
A lot of people told us about the fact that there are issues of privacy, and people are kind of unhappy with the way data is handled by large corporations, and also small ones, because you have a lot of spamming in various forms.
Yes.
Now, how do you handle such issues?
At Reliance Fresh, we started a little ahead on this curve. The team that owns the entire customer information actually sits at an arm's length to all the business teams. The governance laws, within Reliance Retail, it's a very different cell, and they have access to customer information, and none of us, even I as a business person, even if I have your data in my server, cannot have your contact details because there is a cell that protects it. They have privacy barriers which they guard. They have governance barriers on different businesses can use the same Reliance One membership data, but they have governance barriers on how many communications can happen in a month to the same customer, and they provide that filter. I think there is no option. If you get into the habit of spamming your customer, the effectiveness of your communication drops to a level that it becomes useless. So I think it's good to have this kind of good habits on working with direct marketing right up front.
All of this sounds very good, but is it really happening in practice?
I think as this whole data-driven marketing takes more shape, people start to recognize that you don't treat a customer contact just like you treat mass media. Maybe you shouldn't even treat mass media that way today, right? So treating an email, treating a mobile phone number just like it's a mass list of consumers is the wrong way to do data-led marketing. And I think there's an evangelism required for that. It takes time for that cultural change to happen, but I think marketers are getting there.
Even the customers are getting there.
Right.
I think, this whole concern of privacy and the threat, etc., gets talked about a lot. I think the consumers are also learning to trust the new method. They know the kind of platforms and the companies they can trust.